Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and today is a continuation of my Power Apps Hidden Gem series, video number 13. So today I'm going to cover three simple items, but they're also very important items. First thing is going to be the new notify functionality or feature that's been provided. The second one is going to be drop-down controls property called AllowEmptySelection. And finally, the environment's refresh cadence. So these are the three important items I'm going to cover. But before I jump into the demo, watch my new intro video. So let me now get out of my PowerPoint presentation and go straight into my demo. So what I have over here is, I'm going to make a Power Apps canvas. So I'll come over here, I'm going to go in, I'll create a new canvas. And what I'll do is I'm going to use a table layout over here. And the first thing I want to talk about is the notification piece. So the notification was a really slick new functionality and feature that came out, and I really liked it because if all of you who have either attended my workshops or seen my videos, I do that whole trust but verify type of thing, is where somebody's filled out a form, if they hit submit, another pop-up comes up over there saying, hey, are you sure? And now I can actually even leverage this new notify functionality that's provided, and I'll go into that. So first, let me just create a demo over here, app. So I'm going to call it Hidden Gems Demo 13. I always like to change things up a little bit, just come up with new icons and not stick with the original ones. So I'll change all of that, and what I'm going to do is I'll first start in very simple, and I'll kind of show you how we can go ahead and make things a little bit more advanced in that notify functionality. So it's saving. Okay, so we are here, and I'm going to go ahead and actually, let me just call this as the notify screen. And what I'll do is I'll actually go ahead and first drop a few buttons, and I'll also go ahead and drop an icon. And you'll see in a second why I'm going to do that. So in the in the icons over here, I'm going to go ahead and put in something for, say, notify information. So that's a good one. Let me just drop that over here, and I'll also go ahead and put in three specific buttons, and I'll tell you why. So the first button, I'm just going to call that as success button, and I'll intentionally put its color as green, just so that you can tell that this is a successful type of a button. Control C, Control V, and I'll call the next one as warning. Change the warnings color to something which is a goldenish in color. That way you know that this is a warning. You may even want to change the text color here. And then last but not the least, an error. Change that to error. Okay, and we'll change the errors color to red. Make that one white. All right, so what I've got is I went ahead and gotten the buttons over here. So now let's talk about that notify feature. So the notify feature is really neat because it actually has been there for a while, but they've added some more functionalities. And the beautiful thing about the functionalities I like is now you can do two things. You can modify the text on the top, and you can go ahead and put in a gap as like how long that notify should be over there. You can actually put in a delay, a time delay over there. So you can say that, do I want the notify to be there for, say, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, things like that. So I'm gonna show you all of this. All right, so the first one I'm gonna do is specifically for the icon, and I'm intentionally putting that over there. Is like, okay, this is when somebody clicks on that, it's just providing an information. So here's how we start working on that. You come over here, and in the formula, you put in notify, because that's the function name or the formula name. And the first thing you do is you can add a text. So I'm going to say tip of the day. All right, that's basically what that color is going to be. And here is where you can start seeing some options. So one of the options you actually have 4 different types of options. You have error, information, success, and warning. Those are the 4 ones that you have. And based on that, you can actually even change some of the colors. So that's why I intentionally put 4 of these. And then for each of them, we'll go ahead and put that notification type so you can actually see the difference. So the first one was just information, so I'm going to put that information over here. And over here now in the timeout, it goes in the milliseconds. So what I'll do is I'll put in 3000, and what 3000 does is it actually gives you 3 seconds. So if you want to keep it longer, say you want to keep it out there for 8 seconds or 10 seconds, here you'll have to put in 8,000 or 10,000. Make sense? Good. So here's one that I did for just give me a notification, just the tip of the day. And I went and selected the notification type as information. Next one, I'm going to go ahead and do the same, but for success, I'll basically, and it's on select, I'm going to come in and I'll basically do a copy and paste. And in the copy and paste, I'll say something such as, change the text to, thanks for stopping by, and have a nice day. And in this notification type, I'm going to change that, and I'll change it to success. Right? We can go ahead and grab that to Control C, Control V, warning, on select, come here, I'll paste some similar. Again, it's notify, and in this case, thanks for stopping by. Over here, I'll say something in effect that you are missing some information. Okay, you are missing some information, and its notification type, we're going to change that. I'm going to change that to warning. Keep it at 30 seconds, at 3 seconds or 3000. Let me go ahead and grab that and come over here, pick it's on select, and then when I come in, I'll just do a Control V, and Control V, I'll put in something really, like important at the same time critical, and I'll say something in like, okay, this request has been declined. So I did that. Now its notification type, I got to switch that over to error. All right. So now that you see some of the formulas that I put in over there, I put in 4 different type of formulas, but I intentionally also changed the controls over there. I not just put in buttons, but I went and put an icon just to give it a little bit of a variety over there. So let's come and now test it. Remember, the first one was just information. So now when I click on it, right on the top, I say, hey, this is the tip of the day. And you can see that the color is kind of whitish, beige in color over there. So you can click on that again. And if you notice, it only stayed there for 3 seconds, and I have the option. I mean, it fades away, but I have the option to go ahead and X out of it. So it kind of gives me that functionality. All right. Next thing is success. It is successful, so I was able to put in my custom text over there, but the color by default comes to green, and I don't have any control over that, but that color makes sense over there. All right. So again, it stayed there for 3 seconds. Next thing is warning. Again, it says the text is something we put in, but it gave me that color over there, and the color kind of helps understand that, hey, this is not success, this is not an error, it's just a warning. But then the error is a full-blown red color, and then over here it has the functionality that this request has been declined. Now what I want to point out is that when we clicked on success over here, it has that icon, but you can't do anything in the icon. It's just to display something. Same thing in the error. If I click on the error, you see that X over there, it really doesn't do anything, it's just to display that. If you want to close it, you use that X over there. So make sure that you don't get misunderstood. There's no confusion over there. The icon on the left side is just to display an icon, but the actual X to close it is on the right side. All right. So this is a very simple way to kind of go forward. But what I want to show you is an example of how you can take this to the next level. So I'm just going to rename that to Notify Screen 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab a button. Let me see. Yeah, I'll just grab and create a button here. Come here. We'll go ahead and drop another button. I'll just name that to say Submit button. I'll make it nice and big so everybody can see it. And I'll also go ahead and get a scenario. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to put in a place where you put in your first name. I'll put in the hint, add first name, copy that, Control C, Control V, I'll put that over here, and this is add second name. All right. Now, say for example, I'm going to put in such that if this is going to be submitted somewhere. Okay, maybe you're patching it, maybe you're doing some kind of edit, but anyway, you're going to submit that. I can use that notification functionality over there to do like a trust but verify. And if you know, in mine, I always had that second pop-up come up. Now I can just use the notify for that. So let me kind of give you an example. And I'm going to use my infamous if command over here. So it's going to be in its onSelect. So in the onSelect, here's something that I'm going to do, right? What I'm going to check to see is that, hey, was anything even put into those texts? If they were not, then I need that message to come up. But I'm going to customize that a little bit. I'm going to say that, hey, first make sure, does that first name text control, is it blank? If it isn't, then put in a custom pop-up saying that, hey, the first name is blank. Otherwise, go ahead and check, if the first name is filled, go check the last name over there. So I'm kind of making it really customized, and I'm going ahead and putting the pop-up blockers over there really customized. Because if you also know, in the past, we've actually been able to, even through the edit form functionality, or especially those of you who have been using SharePoint forms, when you go and build that customized form, which basically is a Power Apps, it already has that built-in labels and everything over there, and you can make that work out of the box. I'm doing something similar, except that I'm not adding a warning label here, I'm not adding a warning label there, I'm just doing one big notify on the top, but customizing it. Make sense? I know I spoke a little bit too much, so I'm just going to show the demo. It'll make more sense over here. So I'm going to come up to say if, I'll go ahead and close that, and now I'm going to say is blank, and is blank I'm going to call this, and I should have changed that, so let's just make that change really fast. First name, and this one I'll change that to last name. So I'll come back here. I'm going to say first is blank, and I'm going to say in the is blank is first name, and I love IntelliSense because it showed me the name. So is blank equals true. If it is true, then go ahead and notify with this message. Notify, and the message I'm going to say first name needs to be provided, and I'm going to make this as a warning type. So it comes up over here. I'm just make this as a warning type. Let it stay over there for say 5 seconds. And I'll go ahead and close that. The other thing I'll do is I'll put in an OR, because it's not that the first name and the last name. I'm going to put in an OR. Now you could put that as an AND, but in this case I want to make sure that that notification comes up either the first name is missing or the last name is missing. So that's why I'm putting in that OR, which is the 2 colons over there. Otherwise I could have put in 2 ANDs over there. So now what I can do is I can just copy this over. I'll come back over here. So it's basically just a Control-C, Control-V. And I'm going to change this one to last name. And I'm going to say same thing, but I'll say last name needs to be provided. And what am I missing? It doesn't seem to like something, and that's probably because I am missing oh, this one here. Let me get that up. So let's do a test. First, I have not written anything over here. So the first thing that comes up is, hey, first name needs to be provided, which is beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and say first name is Daniel. Now it comes up and says, hey, last name needs to be provided. So I'm going to say last name is Christian. And then both are good, so I can just go ahead and submit. Basically just do something like that, submit. But I can add more functionality over there. So, but here's the thing, it has the functionality to kind of check to see which one is missing, and if it is, then it'll tell you that. It'll say, hey, your first name needs to be provided. It kind of gives you that. So just as a quick update, let me show you what that formula was. I basically used some ifs over there, right there, and then you can do the ORs, and if both is good, then you can go ahead and put in your patch function or your submit form or things like that. This is basically what you can do over there. All right, so that was the example of not just what notification looks like, but how you can actually use it. So that's the first one. All right, second one that I want to show is the drop down control. So I'm going to come over here now, and I am going to create a new screen, and I'm going to call that as drop down. Now in the drop down, first thing I want to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and get a drop down from my SharePoint list connector. So I'm coming over here, and I go to my connectors, I look at my SharePoint, click on that SharePoint, and I should already have a site over there. And in that site I already have a list, so I'll just grab that, and that's my OEMs. So I went ahead and grabbed it, and so now I have a SharePoint list and a connector. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop I'm going to put an input of my drop down. All right, make it nice and big so you can see what's going on. Get the font size. Okay, so here I go ahead. Now I'm going to replace its items, which is change that to OEM or OEMs. And then what it'll do is I want to make sure I change the value of that to, say, manufacturer. And that's what it is. This is basically how it works. It's a SharePoint list. You know, I don't have any blanks or anything over there. So this is basically my SharePoint list over here, right? All that it is over there. From the top, I can get all of them. Now, what's happening is, if I wanted the, well, let me back up. What happens is, if you've got a patch or a submit, if you did not have a blank over there, or the blank functionality, then regardless of what the user did in that form, Acer, the topmost item, will be saved and submitted in your backend data source. And that can be a problem because the user didn't pick that in the form, but it got automatically selected because that is the default functionalities. And there were workarounds I could do for that. I was able to go ahead and build a special connector, drop the data in, special collection, drop this data in the collection, and then intentionally put a blank on the top. There were workarounds for that, but there were added steps. So this little property that they sneaked in was actually pretty impressive. So what I'm going to do is I'll just come up over here and I'll show you what that property is. And it's called AllowEmptySelection. And AllowEmptySelection by default is false. You change that to true. And the moment you do that, this over here will go ahead and change that. So let me just make sure that I have it done correctly. Notification. Yep, AllowEmptySelection. Just make sure my data is coming through. There. So it went ahead. It took a few extra seconds, but it went ahead and disappeared. So now it still shows that the Acer is still on the top. The first item is on the top, but it's not selected automatically for you. And this is huge when you're building a form, because again, like I said, you don't want the users to not select something, but by default it's already selected. And this does that. So remember what the key thing was that everything is still the same, the property is still the same, but there is this new feature called AllowEmptySelection, and in that one by default it is false. Oops, it is false. You want to go ahead and change that to true. So this is the default. When you do that, you see this is how it always shows. But now when I go ahead and change that to true, in a few seconds it goes ahead and kind of disappears. You got to refresh it or something, but it went and disappears because that's what I showed you over there. So that is basically the notification piece over there as well. The final thing that I want to show you is actually pretty big, especially from an admin standpoint, and that is the functionality to actually go ahead and not allow new features to be constantly pushed out to your environment level. What it does is you can put a cadence that, hey, I only want new functionalities to be sent out on a once-a-month basis. So here's how you do it. First of all, you need to be a Power Platform admin. That's preferable, or at least you need to own that environment over there. I personally say let the Power Platform admin do it. So here's what I've done. I've gone to the Power Platform Admin Center, and I come over here, and this is an environment that I'm going to select. You don't have to click on anything. Just click directly on that environment name, and this details section shows up over here. In the detailed sections, I'm going to click on Edit, and now is this new functionality. It's called as the Refresh Cadence. Now if you want to read more about that, there is actually information. See that icon? It looks exactly like the one I just built. But here's what it is. If you click on that, if you click on this one over here, it actually opens up this information that I already have. So I'll go ahead and close that. And one of the important things is this information right here, and that's important that you need to know. What it says is, under Refresh Cadence, choose the cadence type. And in our cadence type, we've got two. We've got frequent and we've got moderate. Keep in mind, frequent is the default. So in that, it says that the refresh cadence does not change when you receive updates for all of these things. What they are saying is that if you went ahead and changed that frequent to moderate, it is going to stick at that moderate over there, and it won't change anytime a new feature has been pushed out, even at these 3 or 4 different levels over there. So the decision that you made to change it to moderate is going to stay that way. The only thing you want to keep in mind is that when you create a new environment, the cadence for that will always be frequent. So what I'm going to do is, I am a big fan of just waiting for a while just to see what things happen before it affects mine, especially in my production ones. Sure, if I'll keep the frequent for my sandbox ones or my trial ones, but for the production one, I'll probably change that to moderate. And so now when I go ahead and save it, it will stay at moderate, and it will continue to do so even if any changes have been done at these 4 different levels over there. Important thing to note, it also says over there that in the frequent, Cadence creating and editing apps will receive updates once a week, but in the Cadence one, it'll receive updates only once a month. So it's a big change, but it's actually a good change. I personally am a big fan of this, especially for my production environments. Trial, sandbox, it's completely at your discretion over there. So all in all, these were the 4 things that I talked about today. We went ahead and did the notify. The notify was pretty neat. How now you can go ahead and add that extra feature and functionality. In the drop-down, I was able to show you the new AllowEmptySelection property. Kind of sneaked in a little bit, but it's really neat because it gives you that functionality over there. And then finally, I was able to show you how in the Power Platform Admin Center, it gives you the refresh cadence functionality right down to that environment level. And therefore, if you leave it, if you change it to the moderate, changes to your environment only come on a monthly level, which is pretty good. So these were my 3 hidden gems today. And as always, keep power apping.